Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's OnBoard limited release webinar for attorneys. We're excited to provide you with an overview of what OnBoard is and what upgrades it will bring. Before we begin today's presentation, I would just like to remind everyone to please keep their phone lines muted. To end today's webinar, we will be answering your questions. To submit a question, please use the Q&A panel or the chat feature. If using the chat feature, please make sure to send your questions to all panelists in the two-option dropdown. We will be emailing all participants with resources, including a recording of this presentation. The purpose of today's webinar is to ensure that attorneys remain updated as we continue to modernize workers' compensation systems. As we will detail later in the presentation, OnBoard Limited Release is the first phase of the board's modernization initiative. Although attorneys will not be active users in the OnBoard Limited Release system, there will be some changes for attorneys once use of the new system begins. I will now pass it over to the board's Communication Outreach Manager, Pam Barnhart, to begin with today's agenda.
Thanks, Mike, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here today. We'll begin with a quick recap of OnBoard Limited Release. Next, we'll go over the changes specific to claimant attorneys, including information about notifications and the process for requesting review by adjudication once OnBoard Limited Release is available. We received a lot of great questions after our November webinar for attorneys. So next, we'll review the most frequently asked questions and provide you with detailed answers. We'll highlight the latest updates about OnBoard and the other related initiatives, tell you what's coming next in the project timeline, and leave plenty of time at the end to answer your questions. So let's get started with a brief refresher on the project. This multi-year project initially began in the summer of 2019, with the full system being available in 2023. But we identified opportunities to implement some early process improvements and functionality sooner in what we are referring to as OnBoard Limited Release. OnBoard Limited Release is tentatively scheduled for release during mid-second quarter of 2021. No earlier than October 2021, Phase 2 will become available, which includes eClaims EDI 3.1. The complete OnBoard system will be released in 2023. To transition away from paper forms, Limited Release will move the prior authorization request or PAR process completely online. This will streamline all of the following requests: MTG confirmation, previously done using the attending doctor's request for optional prior approval and carrier's employer's response, Form MG1. MGT variance, previously done using the attending doctor's request for approval of variance and carrier's response, Form MG2. MTG Special Services includes the 12 medical treatment guidelines related requests previously done using the attending doctor's request for authorization and carrier's response, Form C4-OFF, and non-MTG treatment costing more than $1,000, previously done using Form C4-OFF. OnBoard Limited Release will include the introduction of a durable medical equipment or DME fee schedule that certain types of DME will require. The DME fee schedule will indicate the fee for an item being requested and whether prior authorization is required. There will also be a PAR for non-MTG treatment costing $1,000 or less, and new medication PARs, as OnBoard Limited Release will be replacing the current drug formulary prior authorization request process. All PAR submissions completed in Limited Release will be transferred to the eCase folder for viewing. Limited Release will also change the way orders of the chair are generated. With few exceptions, orders of the chair will be generated automatically and immediately after the insurer response timeframe ends. This enhancement will greatly reduce the need for claimants and their legal representatives to track status and follow up. Now that we've shared an overview of the changes Limited Release will bring to the workers' comp system overall, let's narrow in on the specific changes unique to claimant attorneys. Although claimant attorneys will not be users in Limited Release, they will have an increased ability to receive automatic email notifications and updates on claims for which they are on notice. In Limited Release, if an attorney or firm is assigned an R number, has an email address in their profile, and is associated or on notice to a claim for which the PAR is filed, they can receive an email alerting them of most actions and directing them to review the document in eCase. The chart on your screen outlines which specific email notifications claimant attorneys will receive, including updates for PAR submissions, responses by the insurer or claim administrator, orders of the chair where there is no response from the claim administrator, escalation, and notice of resolution for a PAR. As noted in the chart, claimant attorneys only receive a medication PAR update when it reaches a notice of resolution by the board's medical director's office. Claimant attorneys will not receive updates for the escalation of non-MTGs over $1,000 or notice of resolution of non-MTGs both under and over $1,000. The system does not generate notifications of these PAR statuses. Claimant attorney firms can add or update their email address on the eCase Administrators page of the board's webpage. Claimant attorney firms can provide an email address that is associated to the firm's R number. This is done by the firm's eCase Online Administrator on the eCase Administrators page of the board's website. This single email address for the firm will be used for all PAR status change notifications to the claimant attorney firm. Adding or updating an email address to receive PAR updates in limited release will be as simple as you see here. The system will provide the current email being used for your firm and give you the option to enter a new or corrected email address for the firm. Following the same process as today, claimant attorneys will continue to file a request for further action by legal counsel, Form RFA-1LC. The submission of Form RFA-1LC will remain the same as it is currently, either by paper submission or the electronic form currently on the board's website. This form can be submitted for varying circumstances of a PAR decision, which I will outline on the next few slides. Currently, Form RFA-1LC is not used to request review for the PAR types shown here, but the RFA-1LC will be used for these PAR types in limited release. When use of OnBoard limited release begins, claimant attorneys can submit Form RFA-1LC if a PAR for durable medical equipment, MTG confirmation, MTG variance, MTG special services, or a non-MTG over or under $1,000 receives a denial for administrative, no jurisdiction, or IME scheduling within 21 calendar days from the decision. If an MTG variance or MTG special services PAR receives a partial grant or denial for medical reasons supported by an IME, a claimant attorney can submit a Form RFA-1LC within 21 calendar days of the decision. Lastly, when an MTG variance or MTG special services PAR receives a Level 3 decision conducted by the medical director's office for medical reasons supported by an IME, a claimant attorney can submit Form RFA-1LC within 21 calendar days of that decision. When a medication or durable medical equipment PAR receives a Level 3 response from the medical director's office for medical reasons supported by an independent medical exam or IME, a claimant attorney can file a Form RFA-1LC at any time. As I mentioned earlier, we received a lot of great questions from attorneys after we held our initial kickoff webinars in November. Let's go over some of those questions now. I'd like to also note that we have created a frequently asked questions document for attorneys that is available on the OnBoard Resources webpage, which we will be continuously refreshing following these webinar sessions. We'll start with this question here. Will the board continue to accept paper PAR and Form HP1 submissions once the new system is available? No. With the exception of any hardship exemptions that might be granted, once OnBoard limited release is available, the submission of PARs and Form HP1s must be made in the new system. Will medical marijuana requests be done via PAR? If so, which PAR type? Medical marijuana will be submitted as a medication PAR. What are the required timeframes for response at each level of review? Will they be the same as they are today? The mandatory timeframes for each level of review for each PAR type are consistent with the timeframes that are used today. These timeframes are measured in calendar days, with weekends and public holidays counted as calendar days. Please note that General Construction Law Section 25A provides that if the last date to respond falls on a Saturday, Sunday, or public holiday, then the timeframe to respond is moved to the next succeeding business day. How does an insurer reject a PAR on causality? The Level 1 reviewer can deny the request because the case has been controverted. In a Level 2 review, the insurer's physician can grant without prejudice if a body part or condition has not been accepted but cannot deny for that reason. They would need to deny on a medical basis. If a claimant attorney receives notification from the board system today, will they need to provide their contact information again to receive notifications from OnBoard limited release? Yes. There will be a new e-case administrator option where claimant attorneys can provide their firm's email address to receive prior authorization requests or PAR status change notifications from OnBoard limited release. Detailed information related to the PAR status change can be viewed in the electronic case folder in eCase. Can a claimant attorney provide more than one email address to receive notifications? No. Claimant attorneys or claimant attorney firms can only provide a single email address that is associated with the attorney or firm's R number. This email address will be used for all PAR status change notifications for which the claimant attorney or claimant attorney firm is on notice. How will attorneys be able to object to the denial of Forms MG2 and C4 off? They can file a Form RFA 1LC after the board's medical director's office has ruled on the healthcare provider's request for review of the denial. The only time that the claimant or attorney can request review immediately after the denial is if that denial relied on a new IME. Will the same forms be used regarding the resolution of requests? For example, the Form C-325? Yes, for resolutions, the same forms and processes will be used as they are today. Will a durable medical equipment or DME fee schedule be included in limited release? Yes, the DME fee schedule will be available when OnBoard limited release is implemented. Some items on the DME fee schedule will require prior authorization and others will not. In addition to the DME fee schedule, other implementations are timing up with the availability of the new system, which we'll discuss here on the next slide. In addition to the DME fee schedule, as we move closer to OnBoard limited release being available, the board has made the decision to time up some other initiatives with OnBoard limited release as well. The deadline for prescription drug refill compliance has been shifted to mid-second quarter of 2021. And as a reminder, the drug formulary as it currently stands will be replaced with the implementation of OnBoard limited release that will include medication PAR processing. The medical treatment guidelines listed here will also go into effect when the new system is available. There will be a new medical treatment guideline created and used for traumatic brain injury, and there will be revisions made to mid and low back, neck, shoulder, and knee. Training modules will be available on our website for both medical and non-medical professionals once the new and revised MTGs are implemented. The OnBoard webpage has been updated recently with content specific to the attorney audience. I'd like to walk you through where to find these resources and provide a preview of how the website will soon be redesigned to give attorneys their own page to find these resources in the future. As previously mentioned, the OnBoard webpage has been updated with new resources for attorneys. There's a fact sheet highlighting what both claimant and insurer attorneys need to know, and a listing of frequently asked questions for the attorney audience. These FAQs will be updated as we move forward. You can also view a history of our recorded presentations and PDF copies of slide decks as well. We encourage you to take a look at these resources and to share them with your colleagues. Updates are coming to the website in the coming month. Specific sections will be devoted for each stakeholder audience, such as a page for attorneys, where all materials relevant to you will be located for easy access. Keep an eye out for these updates. So what can attorneys do now to prepare? Register for eCase if you're not already. All documents, including PAR and drug formulary submissions, will be placed in eCase. If an attorney is assigned an R number, has an email address in their profile, and is associated or on notice to a claim on which a PAR is filed, they'll receive an email alerting them of most actions and directing them to review the document in eCase. To register for eCase, go to wcb.ny.gov and select the eCase icon on the homepage. We hope this walkthrough helped give you an idea of what to expect with limited release. To stay updated, we encourage you to visit the OnBoard webpage frequently to check out our attorney resources, recorded presentations like this one, and to subscribe to receive OnBoard news straight to your inbox. These communications will not only feature limited release updates, but we'll be distributing information about the broader OnBoard project as well.
Thank you again for attending today. We look forward to seeing you again in the future.